Someone had a question for us from the audience? A question?
But I saw your hand.
Oh, we have a man in the house asking a question.
Thank you very much. What a wonderful topic. I have two questions, actually. The first, so how can couple having sexless or experiencing sexless marriage, how can they, cultivate and prioritize non-sexual forms of intimacy? That's my question, and it's based on some of the feedback I'm getting from you. That's fine. The second question is, sexless marriage, is it age-linked or related? Can it be an age factor, either or on both sides, the man or the woman? Thank you very much.
So either one of you can take that question. So is it age-related? Let's start with the last question. Is it age-related? And then maybe you already touched a little bit on,
I will speak to that,
other forms of intimacy that we can. So,
okay, so it could be age-related. And the reason is because I'll speak for women, first of all. So a woman's life is, okay, when she's younger, like 18 or teenagehood, it's really heightened at that point. Sometimes in their midlife, it could go either way, because when a woman is in her middle age, there's a lot going on. You're trying to build your career, you're going through a lot of stress. So it might go down at that point. But for some women, that's when it actually heightens, and they have what they call midlife. That's one of the reasons why some people have this midlife crisis, and they're like, no, they become a different person, they want more, and then after menopause, because of those hormonal changes and reduction in those hormones, it sort of nosedives. But for men, I think they have a longer, this hormonal effect is less in them. They don't have to go through menopause. And that's why you see men, you can see a man, 70-something-year-old, getting married to a 20-something-year-old lady, but I don't think I've come across an 80-year-old woman getting married to... How many? Well, maybe there are few and far in between, where you see way older women, like 80, 70, getting married to like younger, yes. So I would say the age-related thing is more common in women because the hormones affect us more. We go through pregnancy, lactation, puerperium, which is period, after birth, within 6 weeks after birth. We are the ones that go through menopause and have those changes, even in our physical body. Some women, when you're younger, a lot of people are slimmer. They feel they are more. They have they're more attractive. And then as they grow older, because of sometimes these hormones as well, you put on some weight and you feel like, I don't think I'm as attractive as I used to be. And so that in itself might be a turn off for you as a woman to say, I don't think, I'm good enough like I used to be. Or it could be from the spouse. So when a man keeps saying, oh, you are not as slim as you used to be. You're not as,
your stomach is very big.
Your breast has fallen and things like that. So for a woman, so I would say body shaming. So that's enough for a woman. That can be a turn off for a woman as well. Because for me, when we're having those discussions, sex doesn't start in the bedroom for a woman. I don't know about men. I think I've spoken. Sex for a woman starts way before the bedroom. You're being nice to her, you're being kind to her, you're saying nice words to her. Because women are moved by words. Men are moved by sight. So you are being kind to her, you've said nice things to her. She would naturally, you're saying you love her, even if you don't mean it.
Well, please mean
Please mean it.
Please mean it.
Please mean it.
Please mean it.
But
yeah.
women are moved by words. So if you've been nasty all day, you are not kind, and you just come at night and tap her, and you think she cannot respond. And I'm sure a lot of men can resonate with that. But as a man, so I've answered the first question about the age thing.
Yes.
It could be. So men are able to stay more active for a longer period of years than a woman because of those hormones I've explained. The second question was, what are the ways we can explore intimacy outside of sex? And that's why building a very solid friendship or relationship with your friend, with your partner, with your spouse is very important, because a lot of things happen outside of sex. So if you do some sports together, some form of recreation, people bond over those kind of things. You love the same kind of music, you get to travel together, you get to cook together, you get to do a lot of things together. So more or less, I would say try and do a lot of stuff together. Whatever it is, whatever you can afford. And I don't want to just start saying, because different people have different things they bond over. Even sitting together watching TV, it can be as cheap as that. So you don't necessarily have to go to destinations. Okay, take for example, in Nigeria, there was something I used to do, or I saw it actually helped my marriage. So anytime we fumigate our house in Nigeria, we'll send the kids to my parents' house, and we'll just go look for a nice hotel close to home. And I saw that we were both looking forward to fumigating our house.
Looked like they were fumigating their house a lot.
A lot, because I saw that it changes the atmosphere. It just changes things, and it brings a lot of, and from some of my friends who I've shared this with, they've tried it, they're like, oh, it seems like they seem to be fumigating their house more often. So there are different ways of, outside of sex, where you can strengthen your marriage. Like I said, do a lot of recreational activities together, watch movies, hugging.
JB can.
Yeah, can.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Well, men loves to also hear good things, good words too. I can tell you that. I think sometimes.
Good.
Sometimes we feel that men just want to get on with it and get out of it and move on. No, I think it goes both ways. If a man has been called all kind of names all day and this and that, and men get body shamed too. This is not a man-woman thing, but I'm just saying that men also get body shamed as well. The same tummy thing. Your beer tummy. So. But but seriously, I guess what we both agree on, what we are saying is the same thing. Basically, you know what? Be good to each other. Say nice things to each other, about each other. Be positive. Respect each other. Very important. And do not judge. It's very important not to judge, because the man or the woman that does not want to have sex today might be going through some, deeper emotional issues at that point. It can be something, not simple, but something as the mortgage is due. And then all that is in your head at that point is, how do I get this sorted out? Especially now that the interest rate is high. And it's just doubled overnight. You are like, oh my God. And somebody now says, you know what, let's get down with it. You say, come on, I don't want to get down on anything. You know what I mean? So that is where understanding comes in. What is bothering you? What are you thinking about? What's going on? What can I do to help? You know, soothing words like that to one another will go a long way. You know? Now, in terms of, so to address the first thing about age, the age thing, I'll tell you a story. You know, I was in Nigeria recently, and you know, I made a new friend. He was 69 years old, and we're talking. You know, guys, we went out and we're talking, and we were all younger than him. And then he said, "Guys, I want to give you an advice." And we said, "What, bro?" He said, "Never, never, never, never have a second wife at this age." He said the biggest mistake he made in his life was to marry a second wife at 65. He realized that the way he could get it on before, he wasn't able. Right? Now, his first wife understood this. They had talked about it. They discussed it. And they came to a middle point that, you know what, it's okay. Whenever we do it, you're able to get it on, we do it, it's okay. If you're unable to, we sleep, we watch TV, you know, we tell stories to each other, and we will be fine. So he had enjoyed that for about maybe 5 years. And then something pushed him. Whatever it was, pushed him. And he saw this beautiful young girl, and he said, "Let me go for this girl." And then he went. And then every night, the girl would call, because he said he had 2 different houses for them. And then so in the evening, the other girl would call and say, "When are you coming over? I need you here." And then the guy said, "But I'm tired." So in French, for those of you who speak French, there's a word called afowofa, right?
Is that French?
So
Is that French?
you understand that, you know, yeah, that's a Yoruba word which means something you have basically deliberately caused for yourself, you know, self-initiated and you know, self-caused. So he caused that. So a lot of people go out there, men, on this premise that, oh, a man can get it on until 80, 90, they overdo things and then they get into trouble. So be careful. But now let's talk about, you know, different ways. My sister here has spoken at length about some of these things. Simple things. Ludo. I mean, I'm just talking. You know, a friend to a friend. You know, you sit down, you're playing Ludo, you know, talking about old times and things like positive things. Positive things. Because sometimes we can discuss some of these little things we're talking about that can cause problems in some homes. You know, it's Ludo you are playing. 6-2. That was how last year you cheated on me. That was 6-2. No, you know. And then you're like, well, it's just Ludo. This is 6. This is 2. But it's more than 6. It's more than 2. The last time, you know, we have to be cautious. You know, when we are together with our partners, you know, a lot of us, when we go to work, we are very careful about what we say to people. But when we get home, we are not. Because we have taken each other for granted. So, little games here and there, go for a walk. You know, one of the beautiful things in Canada is that, you know what, there are a lot of parks around. You can just go. Because if you don't create that time to do all these things, you will just discover that the 25-year-old of today becomes a 65-year-old. I mean, you just become 65, just like that. And then you are asking yourself, where did the time go? Right? Take a bath together. Sometimes, you know, it's like, let's have a bath together, and the other person says, bath. Since when? When did we start? No, go and take your own bath. Let's go and do my own thing. You know, little things like that will go a long way. But there's something that I know works a lot for people who are able to do it. Positive communication. I was taught this. You know, I was taught, and by my own wife. So My wife will sit, say, we have a meeting. We will meet at 6 o'clock tomorrow. I know there is a meeting. I will be ready for the meeting, right? But for me, the way he will handle it will be like, you know what? I will talk for 5 minutes. You will speak for 5 minutes. Because at first, in those days, younger days, he will be speaking, I want to speak. I will want to speak. He will want to speak. Then we were not getting anywhere. So he divides this means and says, okay, I'll talk to 5 minutes, you talk for 5 minutes. Then we will resolve. So this meeting will be like 15 minutes. But you talk, I talk, we resolve. And I will encourage people to try that. Okay? Try to talk and allow the other person to also speak. Then you talk, you respond, then he or she might respond. But your goal is to resolve. Your goal is not to win. Say, oh, I'm the one that you are the worst father that God has ever made. You are the worst mom that God has ever made. But have you forgotten that that same person, has some positives? I learned something from a friend of mine. When the wife wants to say something to the husband that the husband had done wrong, he will go positive. The first 5-10 minutes, he's positive. My dear husband, God has been good to me. You pay for the school fees of the children. I save my own money. You help me carry, garbage out on Fridays, even when I don't ask. So we say all those things. So after saying all those things, I say, but there's only one thing that I'm going to plead with you. If you can do it, it's okay. But if you cannot do it, it's okay. I will understand. When you finish eating, can you at least wash your dishes a little bit? But because he had already softened the ground, the man is like, oh, okay, it's dishes. Okay, no problem. I can take that. But if you just go like, this plate again, you this man, or the other way around as well. I think communication just goes a long way, cap it with respectability, some respect for each other. It will help you, okay, in finding alternatives to intimacy. There's so many things you can do.
That's great. Great to know. Any other question before we... Yes? Yes.
I want to commend the panelists for how you've led the conversation around medicine, law, and even age and all of that. Regarding age, I would appreciate if you can maybe lead the conversation further around times and seasons as well. Because I've experienced marriages, have challenges, postpartum, for instance, during menopause and all of that. How does that contribute to this sexless thing that we're talking about? Then I wanted to also challenge the thinking around voiding a marriage because you've not consummated marriage and all of that. I've always thought the law was if there is willing and persistent refusal to consummate the marriage. So if there has ever been an issue around couples having sex regularly before and then they're not able to have sex, I think, and this is just a theory, I would like you to correct it. I think the action would generally fail if you're coming to void the marriage because of that. So if you could just speak to the two, maybe correct the theory that I'm proposing and then speak to times and seasons as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to answer those two questions. First of all, voiding a marriage is not that they had sex at some point. It's that they are in a marriage and they have never had sex in the marriage. So whatever happened prior to the marriage is not important for this discourse or for going to court to void the marriage on the basis of the fact that the marriage was not consummated. It is called the marriage not being consummated because the event we're talking about is in relation to the marriage, not prior. So the law is not interested in what happened prior because now you are both married. You can't come under common law and say, I want to void the marriage. There's no marriage because it's common law. But if you go to court and you say, well, we have been married, we're married on this day, and since this date there has been no sex, then you have grounds to void the marriage on that basis with evidence, of course. So that's the one part. I hope that, I know I answered, I responded. I don't know if I answered your question. The second one regarding season, I will use myself as an example for that. And I've spoken to a lot of women who have experienced the same thing or are going through the same thing. If you're a very busy person, you have a busy lifestyle, you're a career person, the tendency is that you pour a lot into different parts of your life every day. And one of the things I believe is not addressed is emotional drainage. We talk about mental, we talk about physical, but there's the emotional drainage on women and men that we often don't think about. So it's the fact that I am just exhausted emotionally, that the last thing on my mind is sex. Yeah. It's not because I do not desire it. In fact, in my head, throughout the day, I am thinking about, oh, it's been 2 weeks. I should do something about it tonight. And then just as I'm getting into the driveway, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot tonight is we have a meeting. And then you get into the house, you quickly fix dinner, you run into that meeting room, and you come out of the meeting room at about 10 p.m., and in your head, you are still thinking, yeah, we could possibly do something. But you get to the bathroom, and your mind might be thinking it, your body is just not responding. So I can say for me, that happens. And I'm sure for many other women, that happens. And for men, it's the same.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, for men, it's the same. So sometimes you get emotionally drained, not because you do not want to. And that's why we are being careful to say the fact that we are saying sexless marriages does not mean there's anything wrong with that. We're just bringing this to the fore so that people can own up to the reasons for their marriages being sexless. And address it. So it could be sexless for medical reasons or non-medical reasons, like what I've just described. And so the import of this discussion then is to go back home and say, where do I fall under all of this? Now, if you are the type that you just feel once a week is fine, we are doing great, baby, then it's working for you. For others, once a week is like, you want to kill me? Let's try once a month. You know, but it is working for them. And so the point of this discussion is take it and be you. But take it, be more aware that these sort of things can actually derail a marriage. It can affect your marriage, it can affect intimacy. And we all know that when intimacy is affected, then the marriage is crumbling. The fact that there's no sex does not mean there's no intimacy. We've made that clear. There are other ways he has spoken, JB has spoken, and Shehu has spoken. There are other ways you can cultivate intimacy between yourselves that does not involve sex. I mean, we have lots of people. I have friends who have breast cancer, for example. And one of them actually sent a message to me, and she said, this topic is very poignant. It's so relatable, and I am in that situation right now. I didn't know. And she said, I am going through a lot of medical procedures that even to touch me is a pain. But my husband has been so understanding. So they're making it work for themselves. Now, the fact that they haven't had anything, I don't know for how long, does not mean that they are not in love with each other. So we're just saying we want to bring this out there. It is happening. Find out if it is happening in your marriage. And if it is, what are the reasons? Is it medically? Is it non-medical? Is it something that we have been doing and everybody is feeling comfortable and it's been months, years, and nobody is talking about it because, oh my goodness, whenever I want to go to her, her face is just tight, she's tired. And sometimes you make excuses for your wife and you make excuses for your husband. What we are saying is, have a discussion. It is not a taboo. It is not a taboo. If you're a Christian, God doesn't go out of the room simply because you're having sex. He created sex. So talk about it. Invite God into the conversation. It's time to pray. I had an interview with a lady, a doctor, who discussed about the different types of offering we can do in marriage. I don't know if you've seen that episode. But she says sometimes we come and we just bring burnt offering. Meaning, I am so tired, but let's do a quickie. Right? And it happens in marriages. And then other days, oh, here I am, Lord, a willing offer. And then you are going the full churchill. But she said in that interview, she said, please do not bring burnt offering every day because nobody likes burnt offering every day. So what we are saying is, even the Bible says it, that if you're going to go away for a season, let it be in agreement. So agree. So I don't know if that, I know I've been speaking, I've been talking, I'm responding. I don't know if I answered your question regarding seasons and age. Personally, I think we shouldn't take the seasons too far, right? I don't think we should take, I get tired, bodily, physically, emotionally, but I'm also one of the persons to call myself and say, hey, it's been some time. He has needs as well. So I think while you're focusing on yourself, you should also consider your partner and know that they have needs, and she has needs, he has needs. So I hope.
You want to say something, right?
Yeah.
You really want to say something?
Yes, I was just
Then
going to
go ahead.
I was just going to, based on what we're talking about the ways we can express intimacy without necessarily having sex. How many people are aware of their partner's love language? I think I can see a few hands in the audience.
Just a few.
And the reason why I'm asking this is because sometimes in a marriage, you are showing love the way you want to receive love. And to your partner, to him, you're not showing him love because you're not using his love language. And that's why I said, let me just do a quick quiz to just find out how many people know their spouse's love language. Because this goes in consonance with what you were talking about in terms of like how can we express intimacy without necessarily having sex. So there are different ways. So that's an assignment for everyone here. Find out what your spouse's love language is. There are 5 of them. For some people, it's acts of service. And I will use a personal experience, a personal example. So when I initially got married, I felt, oh, let me cook, let me do. My husband is not a food person. He's not really a food. Food is not like, let me, cook, do this, do that. And it took me a while to actually figure out what his love language was. So you need to observe. One of his top love languages is acts of service. So I realized that if, for example, he tells me, Sean, could you please help me drop my clothes at, because of those dry cleaners in Nigeria, I'm not advertising for anybody, but some dry cleaning place. And I, as much as just squeeze my face to say, that's not happening, already that's a turn off for him. I've for that day, I've put him in a bad place. Because one of the ways he receives love is acts of service. So if he says, so it took me a while to realize that, if he says, do this for me, and I want to score, I want to fill up my, is it love bank?
Your love bank.
Yes, because for every time you do negative things.
It's a credit.
No, is it credit? When you take out, yes.
Debit.
Yes, the debit. And for every time, it's just normal. And for every time you speak in your partner's love language, you are adding credits into your account. So if he says, maybe I have a trip, or could you help me find nice hotels, I would pour my all into it, because that is love. That's his top love language. So there's gifts. I know a lot of women fall into this category. I have a friend of mine. She are into all this immigration thing where husband comes, shuttles, and she's not seen her husband in a couple of months. And we all saw her, she had bought like LV bag, D&G shoes, and she was like, he hasn't come, but he's settling me until he comes. So for her, gifts is her love, is her top, love language. So there's gifts, there's quality time. For some people, I have a friend, she came all the way from Nigeria to see me. For some people, it's just spending quality time. She's like, as long as, my husband has my time, like 100% when I'm with him, he's not pressing his phone, he's not watching soccer, he's focused on me. Mm-hmm. That is enough for her. She does not need anything, no gifts, nothing. For some, it's words of affirmation, particularly for men. Your words, respect, whatever it is, words of affirmation. I got you. They know. For some women, especially when they feel less confident about themselves, when you let them know that, don't worry, baby. Even if you look like a sack of rice, I still love you. I still got you. You're still my African queen. You're still my number one. For some women, I think I've mentioned 4. So gifts, quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service, and then for some people, it's touch. So for those set of people where touch is their number one language, so even if they can have sex, there are different, there's a spectrum. Sex is the, yes, so there are other things. So touch involves, we are all adults here, I don't need to go into all the details.
There's kissing, there's cuddling.
Yes, there's so many things to explore. So find out, it's an assignment for everyone, find out what your spouse's love language is. It might be different from yours, so that you can express that love language in a way that they will receive it and know that, yes, you love them.
Even some people don't hug.
Sorry?
Can you believe that even some couples, they don't hug each other?
Really?
They don't, the guy just comes from Nigeria or wherever, and then, welcome, how are you?
Okay,
those are
fine.
Those are kind of things that
so basic.
Listen.
Really?
We have more questions. Let's keep taking more questions.
Quickly, in my practice as an immigration lawyer, when people tell me they want to sponsor their spouses, I watch out for how they communicate and the kind of words they use. And I can tell you that 90% of the time, they would have failed. Your wife or your husband is in Nigeria, you are here, you're sponsoring. And one of the things that immigration will look for is, how do you communicate that way to show that your marriage is subsisting and everything. And all I'm seeing in your chat is, good morning, good morning. Did you see the money? Yes. If you give Mama James 500 naira, give our uncle 500 naira, okay, and okay, later, bye, see ya. And you see consistently some of these communications, and you are asking yourself, are you guys in a relationship or not?
Yeah.
No affection.
And that could be cultural. That could be cultural. Oh, we don't do those things. Oh, I'm a Nigerian guy. Oh, I'm a Nigerian woman. Oh, we don't. No. Love language is very important. Words of affirmation. Tell your husband you love him. You are not committing, murder by saying that. I love you, I miss you. Things like that. Anyways, we have a question.
Yeah, thank you very much. My question actually is similar to what he asked, but it's kind of different. I have a legal question and a medical question. The medical question is this. Do you think, in your opinion as a medical doctor, that not having not having sex in the marriage can physically affect a woman. For example, if a woman gets married maybe in her 30s, and then things were going fine, then maybe as she turned 35, she married an older man. As she turned 35, things broke down, and they weren't having relations anymore, intimate relations anymore. And she stayed in that marriage, and they are there for like maybe the next till she turns like 50, 55, she's going into menopause. Do you think that that lack of physical intimacy or lack of sex, let me just say lack of sex, not physical intimacy, do you think it can affect a woman physically, biologically? That's the first question. Then the second question is, I know you mentioned, Antimo, you mentioned something like that, but I want to be very clear. Is not having sex in a marriage enough grounds for a marriage to be void? Is that a word? For divorce? Is it enough grounds?
If there had never been sex
No, if
in
there
that
had
marriage.
been, but maybe there's been a long time of no, is not. Okay, thank you for answering that. Then one last question before I hand the mic over. Do you think, and this for everybody on the panel, do you think that complacency or see finish in quotes is could be a reason for sexless marriages, in your opinion? Thank you.
I can answer the last one, then you can do the medical one.
Question,
of course.
yes. You asked.
Go ahead.
I think if I heard you correctly, you
I'm
said
giving you back my MPPS.
yes. Is there any impact on the woman's physical body?
Yeah.
Okay, so in medicine, if something is not backed up by scientific evidence that's been rigorously proven, so as far as I know, it won't affect a woman physically. It could affect her psychologically. Yeah, so in terms of her physical body, biological body, not having sex will not. But it's been found out recently in males, I've forgotten the name of the study right now, that for men who have sex frequently, it's found out that it reduces the chances of having prostatic carcinoma. That's cancer of the prostate. For men who have the more they have sex and ejaculate, well, there are different ways of ejaculating without sex, but that's another thing. That's another story for another day. But for men who ejaculate frequently, they found out that they have less incidence of prostate CA in them. So that's as much as like medical. But for a woman's body physically, it's not been, there's no scientific evidence that it affects her physical body. But it could affect like her mental health, yes. Cause depression and things like that, yes.
And there's a disclaimer there. That does not mean that people should go out there
and start.
So that's a disclaimer. In terms of see finish, something just popped into my head as you mentioned that. You know, there are times that when people are dating, especially if it's a long distance, you don't see each other often, and then I'm in love, I love you, boom, within 2-3 months, boom. And then when you start living together, you start saying some things. And you are saying to yourself, this is a turn up for me. Cleanliness is very important. I know people that will not move close to either the husband or the wives because they are not clean. And that is why people have to be conscious about that. And that's seeing finish. You know what I mean? You know? And oh my God, you know, something as little as using the washroom and not flushing. And you are saying to yourself, I don't want to have anything to do with this person. It turns you off. So you need to find out what turns you off. What turns you off. Before it gets out, I don't even go there. I work on myself. You know what I mean? So, see finish can be, you know, it can be anything. It can be so many things. Like we heard about the love languages. You taught this person who at least have 1 or 2 of those. Doesn't have any. You know, you love to hear some sweet words, nice things, positive things. You're not getting it. You are seeing this guy finish and say, is this the way you are? No, this is not for me. So that is why, again, we have to be deliberate in asking ourselves, where am I going wrong? Because sometimes we can blame the other person. We can sit here and say, it's his fault, it's her fault. But I think the best kind of conversation you can have is to have some conversation with yourself and say, in this, yes, these are his faults. How about mine? And how do we work together and meet in the middle? Thank you.
We have room for one more question. Will anyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for, the presentation so far. I'm curious about something that was said earlier about the libido of a woman as she ages. And I started to think, does this come across more from a cultural perspective? Like if women were financially liberated, would they also have, all that the man has right now to do what the man does in terms of taking a younger spouse, or somebody? Because again, we've talked about the fact that it's not all about sex. It's about intimacy. It's about maybe a younger man carrying me around or just taking care of me, rubbing my hair. So is it based on our cultural and historical background of a lack of financial independence for the women?
That's a good question. I don't know that there's necessarily a correlation between financial independence and your active level sexually. I don't know, I've seen or heard of any study like that. But I understand what you're saying, that if the coin were flipped and women were in the same shoes as men, financially independent, maybe in the driver's seat, and they're able to take younger men, would we be talking about this? Is that the question? So, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's cultural.
I think it's more of cultural, because it's something that will be frowned upon. Most of us here are Africans. To see an older woman with a way younger man, like a toy boy, is something, yes, that's what it's called. It's something that is cultural. It's not accepted in our society for historical reasons, cultural reasons. People are more comfortable with older, or we're used to seeing way older men getting married to, yes, it's normal, So I think that's one of the reasons why you don't see those kind of things. In the Western world, age is nothing. You see way older people get married to way younger people, or divorce their husbands and marry younger people. And no one bats an eyelid, but I think it's more of cultural. And yes.
But even in the Western world, you find that women who are much older women who are dating younger men, or they still find they're not too comfortable to put it out there in public, because even their friends will tease them about it. And I think it's just how every culture in society is wired to feel that the woman, subservient, not subservient in a necessarily bad way. I think that will have, it's a different discussion entirely, because then you talk about being submissive, being a slave, and all of that. I think it opens up a wider discussion. But I think in every culture, the woman is seen as not the man. So you can't wear when women started wearing pants, for example, you could wear pants, but you are not in the driver's seat, was what the tagline was. So I think I don't know that it will ever evolve. I think that is one of the things that has come to stay culturally. Men can marry much younger women, but I don't think women can. They do, but it's not.
But most times, it's because most times the women are usually more financially stronger, or more financially empowered than those younger men. And so they're friends with them and say, oh, it's like trade by barter. So you're getting, sex from the guy. Why the woman is one financing,
it might not necessarily
his lifestyle.
But
that might not. But that's the impression. A lot of people, they won't say, oh, it's because you are in love with a younger man. It's, oh, he's giving you something and then you're servicing his lifestyle.
Yeah. Okay.
It might not even necessarily be intimacy per se, or even love. It might just be sex. Again, like we've said before, there's a difference. And that's something we should think about. But I think you mentioned historical, and it might be because when we go back, and again, I want to go a bit religious, just a little bit, and I'm not going to go deep into that. In my opinion, when God created Adam, He created Adam first, then Eve after. So older, younger. You might not agree with me, but that's the way I look at it. And I think historically, that's the way we've always seen it, that the man must be older than the woman. But again, things are changing. But Mo said one thing, but I'm just going to say quickly that there is a relationship between, libido and money. There is. There is a relationship between libido, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Again, and like I said before, if all you are thinking about is how do I put food on the table, how do I take care of my family, the last thing somebody wants to talk to you about is sex. I know there are people that will get it on anywhere, anytime. Most people are not wired that way. You are thinking like, hey, because it will affect your emotions.
But for some men, when they are stressed,
they want to calm down.
That is their channel to calm down.
Yes, some.
So it's not really one-sided. Yeah. So for some men, when they are really, really stressed, that's one of the ways they use for cooling down and easing all the stress.
So again, it's know your spouse,
know your spouse,
know your partner, know what works for you. I think on that note, right?
One more question, right? Did you say one more?
Do we have one more anyway? No, I think we've probably answered.
No, there's a lady in the right.
Yeah. You have a question?
Okay, so my question, you did mention some of those, some things about it. So I'm kind of asking about culture. Do you think that cultural, do you think that there are roles that cultural beliefs, norms affect the expectation, not necessarily whether they are having it or not having it, but the expectation and the responses that you get in that? Do you think that there are roles that culture plays in it? Because even here, right, when you look at other cultures, like not Nigerians, like you will see that even when we say, oh, it reduces at old age, you see that for them, maybe not necessarily, maybe they are, I don't know, but maybe they have an orientation on that based on their culture, while some other cultures, I don't know, but what do you think? What do you think is the role of culture in terms of the expectations and the responses that you get, that you see in marriage for sex?
So I think the question is, what role would culture play on this having sex or having a sexless marriages? Is that the question? Yeah?
For me, recently I was shocked to find out that even a medical doctor believed that, which is not scientific, that if a woman is pregnant and she has sex with her husband or partner, it can affect the baby. So when she's pregnant, she's like, it's a no-no for the whole 9-10 months. So in some cultures, I don't know what culture, but some people believe, when you are pregnant, but there's no scientific evidence or basis for that. In fact, towards the end of pregnancy, it actually helps to dilate the cervix. So there's some cultural things that are, I would say myths that don't really have any scientific basis, but this I've heard several times. Except there's a medical reason, like maybe the cervix, there's an issue, incompetence, where they say, okay, stay off, you have to be on strict bed rest. But a woman that has no medical reason, like incompetent cervix, having sex during pregnancy does not affect the baby. So that's one common one I know. I don't know if Mr. JB has heard about some other cultural practices.
Oh, there are many.
How culture affects.
There are many for if you grew up in Africa, if you grew up in Nigeria, you would know that there are different cultural practices and religious practices that are fused into culture that can affect, the sexual life